All right, we've got the B-2 fired up and out of the hangar here at Whiteman Air Force Base. We'll go ahead and taxi to the runway. Okay, we are taking off nice and easy. It's a very difficult aircraft to take off, and it's so short we have to keep our eye on that angle of attack. Climb nice and easy to our cruising altitude. All right, we are now over the target area in the Iranian desert. We'll go ahead and get the bomb bay doors open, just like so. Everything's looking good. We'll go ahead and switch on over to our targeting pod. All right, we can see the exhaust shafts of the nuclear base. We'll go ahead and target those with our laser. All right, so we're going to be simulating the Operation Midnight Hammer B-2 stealth bomber raid from earlier this year, back in the summer, in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So I remember when I started this channel, and I know I haven't posted in like forever, you know, life goes on. So, but I got this idea recently, and I was like, you know what, let's fire that up, fire up the YouTube and the capture card and all that stuff, and make one more video. Take my jersey back down from the rafters and make one more video. So, which is, it's funny because I think back when this channel kind of took off, like years ago at this point, I remember I used to do like all the different like missions and like GTA. And what is this? What is that? Is that lightning? That's crazy. I guess that's like weather. I don't know. It's December right now, so I don't know what thunderstorms are happening up near Nova Scotia. But whatever, beside the point. But I remember I used to do like all the missions in like GTA, you know, and like the other games, you know, Arma and like Call of Duty. You should do like all these like simulated missions, and, like all the big battles and all that stuff and all these videos. And you know, since then, like the world has just gone crazy. Like now it's like the real thing is happening these days, unfortunately. So yeah, so we've got this mission. I figured, you know, they have a B-2 bomber for Microsoft Flight Simulator as an add-on that was released. I think it was this year it came out. Obviously this mission happened this year, and I saw this, I don't know if it was like a documentary or whatever it was recently, and I also came across these videos of like people using the B-2 in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and figured that would be a cool mission to like just simulate the whole, or video to simulate the whole mission, you know, from start to finish, from soup to nuts. So I figured let's fire it up and see if we can't do that. Now we're going to simulate the whole thing, like the exact routes, the B-2, you know, like the time of everything. Now granted, the video isn't going to be like 48 hours long or however long the actual mission was, because no one would want to watch the entire thing. So we're going to speed up parts of it so that it's a you know, digestible video length. But we're going to simulate the whole thing. The only thing you can, what is this like? This is like crazy to me that there's like lightning that you can see in this. In any case, we're going to simulate the whole thing. The only thing you cannot simulate in Microsoft Flight Simulator is dropping the bombs themselves, because of course Microsoft Flight Simulator does not have like a, you know, bomb dropping function. We have the B-2, it's very realistic. We'll get into it and kind of look at the whole thing. You can open the bomb bay doors, but you can't actually like get on like a, you know, laser designator target pod and like launch bombs and Microsoft Flight Simulator. So that part's not, you know, built into Microsoft Flight Simulator, but no worries. We're going to hop on over to Arma to simulate that part, and then we'll be back in Microsoft Flight Simulator to do the rest of the mission, you know, flying there, flying back, the aerial refueling, the whole thing. So we're going to get it all in. The first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to plot the routes, like the actual GPS route, into Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, I think there are like a couple of videos where people do something like this, but I haven't seen like the full thing simulated. I don't think that's been done, so it's going to be fun to try to do that here today. So you're going to see on the screen here right now the actual you know, real life photo of, you know, like I think it was like the Pentagon press conference from earlier this year, kind of showing the mission. This is the route that they use, so we're going to go ahead and try to simulate the exact route that they use there. You know, to try to be as realistic as possible. So the first thing we're going to do is we have our B-2 is an add-on for Microsoft Flight Simulator that we have here. We're going to show you that and, you know, do the whole route and everything. So we've got that loaded in. The first thing we have to do is we have to select Whiteman Air Force Base, which is where the mission was launched from. So you can see that here, pardon the lag. I don't know why there's lag in the map. That's a little weird. The other thing that you might see, you might not notice, is that just from trying to do this before as like a test run before I did the video. Whiteman Air Force Base being an Air Force base and not like a major airport, so to speak, does not have scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So the way they do these maps is they have, I think it's called photogrammetry, where they get satellite photos, and then I'm sure there's like a software or an AI that, you know, kind of tries to build replica buildings over where the buildings are. It's not, if we zoom in here, you can kind of see, you know, the buildings, and this is like obviously aerial photos. Some of them are not actually like in the simulator. So when you load it up, you'll just see, you might not notice. But if you fly around and you kind of look, like some of these buildings are not actual like 3D buildings. Like you can actually just see like the like a flat outline on the ground of the aerial photo, but they didn't actually build up the building because this is not like a major you know, airport that people use. So it makes sense that the flight simulator doesn't actually have like a real you know, accurate, you know, kind of, you know, fully loaded, fully featured base. But of course, this is the base that was used in the real life mission, so this is the one we're going to use here. The other thing that's like crazy, just to point out, is I remember when I started this channel like years and years ago, when it really took off. I used to do all the missions like the GTA and like all the different games. You'd simulate all these crazy missions, and the world's gone crazy since then. I mean, now this stuff's like real life. They're actually having these things happen in the world, which is unfortunate. But, you know, such is life. So, you know, life imitates art, or art, you know, however that expression goes. We're going to try to simulate the mission here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So we're going to go ahead and plot this out on the map. So we're going to go ahead and set our departure runway. The arrival, of course, is not going to be, we're landing in Iran, of course. So we're just going to have to come out here and simulate it the best we can just to kind of get the route loaded into the GPS. I do not know why that part's lagging here, because I've never seen, maybe it's because I'm recording, I don't know. But anyway, so we've got that. We're going to go ahead and set the end point. We're just going to go ahead and mess with the weather real quick just to get the sun over here so we kind of see what we're doing. So obviously this is Iran. We're going to go ahead and get, we're not actually going to land here, but just to get, oh my God, this thing's lagging like crazy. Hopefully the simulator, when we're actually loaded up, it doesn't lag like this. I don't think it will. We're going to go ahead and just set Dubai as the destination, even though we're not actually going to like land there. That's just to kind of get us a great circle, you know, departure and arrival to and from loaded into the map. But now we're going to load the actual route that you saw before. So it looks like what they did is they came over here off the coast of the Northeast. So we'll go ahead and let's just go ahead and change the time of day so that it's sunny over here. We're actually going to go ahead and change the date in a minute to the actual date of the mission. But you saw the route that was used to fly the B-2s. So we're going to go ahead and, you know, just try to trace along that here as best we can. But before we do that, let's just go ahead and set the actual date so we get realistic, you know, like realistic like day lengths, because obviously right now we're in December. It's the short, you know, we have the shortest days of the year. So this was actually the opposite. This was in the summer, June 22nd, 2025. So you had pretty long days, a lot more daylight than you do now. So we want this to be accurate. The weather, you know, honestly, instead of like trying to figure out what the weather was on that day and like manually load it in, which is both unnecessary and crazy, I'm just gonna go ahead and set this to live weather so that this way we get like realistic weather, you know, generations in the simulator. We're gonna also go ahead, and I don't think this launched around like dusk or like, you know, this spanned multiple, you know, almost multiple days. So I think we're going to just go ahead and have it be so that it's like, you know, the sun is, you know, coming up, and then by the time we get over here, it's going to be nighttime, you know, because obviously the sun's going to move on what is going to be a pretty long flight. But let's go ahead and keep loading in the route. So we're going to add the next waypoint. Looks like it's like about up here, and then they came this way through, I think that, what is this, like the Strait of Gibraltar, I believe this is. Let me just go ahead and Google that. I want to make sure I'm being accurate here. Let's go Strait of Gibraltar. It is the Strait of Gibraltar. Wow, man, I must have paid attention in geography class way back in the day. And then they came through here, and then it looks like they came over this northern part. Is this the Caspian Sea? I don't want to test my geography knowledge too much because I'll inevitably be wrong at some point. But then we want to come across the Mediterranean, through here, and then we're going to come down here. And then once we do the mission itself, then what I'm going to do is we're not, of course, going to land at Dubai. We're going to have to refuel probably somewhere in the desert here, and then we'll turn around and come back. So this is roughly the route that you see in real life from the maps that were kind of provided or shown at the time. So this looks like about as realistic as we're going to be able to get as far as like GPS is concerned. So with that said, let's go ahead and load up the sim, and we'll get loaded in, and yeah, we'll get going. All right, so we're now loaded up here at Whiteman Air Force Base in Microsoft Flight Simulator. We have the glorious B-2. They really did a good job with this add-on. I mean, I had not really flown, but back, I think, when I was more active with YouTube, I did X-Plane, but I think this was like largely before Microsoft Flight Simulator came out in 2020. I think the prior version of it was like 2004. So X-Plane really, I think there was another one called P3D, were really the only flight simulators at the time. But Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and others 2024. I prefer 2020. I think 2024 is kind of buggy, and it does it kind of like I think it loads the scenery in like real time from the internet, so you kind of always have to be online. There are other like bugs about it that I don't really like as much as I like Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I also think the graphics are much better. I think in some ways, the graphics in 2020, the scenery's a little bit better. I mean, there are some areas, some of like the lighting and the shading and so forth can be better in 2024. But in any case, like I was using X-Plane way back when, because that was kind of like the preeminent flight simulator. And the mods at the time, like the add-ons you would download, some of them were paid for. A lot of them were just like random people made them, and the quality was not always great. In fact, a lot of the time it could be pretty sketchy and pretty bad. But Microsoft Flight Simulator has got a pretty incredible add-on infrastructure. It is unfortunate. It seems like a lot of them, or most of the add-ons are paid for. There's not as much free stuff, but you really do get what you paid for. The quality, both on the scenery and the aircraft's much better. I'm not someone who likes like in-app stores because it tends to be a scam from the consumer standpoint. Like I like to be able to buy things independently. But when it comes to like game add-ons, they're just notoriously, like I remember the mods for GTA 5 and GTA 4, in other games you'd have to like manually install them. There'd just be all kinds of problems. There is something to be said with the convenience of just being able to have the things install automatically, and you just kind of buy it. It's it's a few clicks of the mouse, and you're loaded up using the add-on. It is kind of convenient. So there is a higher quality, I think, and I think this B-2 is certainly an example of that. So let's go ahead. Obviously you see Whiteman Air Force Base here is very flat part of the United States. You can kind of see that. Almost kind of looks like Florida in that respect. But so I mentioned earlier that there are like parts of the base, like you can actually see it if you look like over there towards the top middle of the screen. You can kind of see how you just see like the outline of the building on the ground there, but there's no building. So it's not like a fully featured, base, but it's pretty good for our purposes here. It works pretty well. So go ahead and hop to the cockpit of the B-2. I mean, this is very impressive. Just how full featured this is. I mean, almost all the buttons you can actually press. I'm going to show you the transponder. I'm just going to go ahead and show you that first up. So you hit IFF and you go ahead and you punch in whatever the transponder is that the squawk code that you're getting from air traffic control, and you go ahead and you come over here and you can actually load that in. I had some problems with this when I was doing a test run earlier because it does not. So the GPS route, if we go ahead and go over to, let's see, where is that nav? You can actually see that the route has been, the one that we loaded in earlier is actually loaded in here. They have our departure and arrival. I don't want to mess this up before we take off, but all of the waypoints that we loaded in are actually loaded in here, which is great. There's also pretty much every other feature, or at least known feature. I mean, there's a lot of parts of the B-2 that are, I like the air freshener right here, that are classified, so they had to use some creativity. There's a big toilet. I mean, that is a massive, I guess it's not that big, but it's just interesting that of all the features, you of course only have the really necessary ones, like the toilet, that's back there. But like all these buttons are pretty much, buttons that you can control that are actually like, have the armrest even, you can kind of put that. up and down. We'll go ahead and keep that down. I mean, everything's pretty much a usable feature, which is pretty cool. I mean, all these buttons are buttons that you're able to interact with for the most part. So you can see we also have this tablet over here that you're able to, you know, utilize for, I mean, this is like a lot of like ground features. So you have, you know, like your fire extinguisher, you know, load the munitions, things like that. You know, other wheel chocks, different important ground features. I'm not going to waste time like doing all that stuff just because it's like would make the video what I'm sure is already going to be a long video even more obnoxiously long. And I don't know why it is that there's a little bit of like, so I have I'm playing in 4K Ultra. The video is going to be in 1080p because, you know, trying to make this video in 4K would just be kind of ridiculous. It would be a massive file. It would be hundreds of gigabytes, and you know, I think unnecessary because I don't think people really watch for the most part videos in 4K. Some people do, but I don't think that really applies to most people. But it will be in HDR, because if you play in HDR, you record in HDR, the video is in HDR, and I don't really want to deal with like tone mapping to go to SDR. And it's probably also like a little bit, you know, nicer to watch in HDR. So anyways, you can kind of see the inside of the B-2, very, very highly detailed, very high quality interior, you know, full feature set, very, very nice. So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and hop back out to the outside and show you that. We'll zoom in a little bit. You can see it's just extraordinarily realistic and high quality. I mean, more so than just the simulation itself. It is a really, really cool aircraft, just in terms of the design. I mean, it really does look like a, you know, future. And this aircraft's been around for like 30 years now, I think at least. You know, it's been in service for, I think maybe since like the early 2000s, but you know, don't quote me on that. But it's getting ready to be replaced with another aircraft. So it's been it's a pretty cool design. You know, the fixed wing design is obviously something that just looks you go ahead and look from the top down, you can see just how futuristic and crazy it looks. But it's a real aircraft. It's really used, so it's cool to be simulating this mission. So with that said, we'll hop on over to our air traffic control. Now, the air traffic control, I noticed this when I was doing the test video, is not it's not like it doesn't work great when you're leaving from this Whiteman Air Force Base, because I don't think, however this air traffic control is coded, it doesn't really work as well from airports that are not, you know, like major airports that have, like, you know, more integrated into the, you know, internal systems of the simulator. So we're already cleared for takeoff, as you can see, so we're going to go ahead and just start taxiing on over. All right, problem solved. Yeah, it just it's kind of hard to tell whether the brake's on or not with this yoke. So I look forward to getting another one that's a little bit more fully featured. So we're going to go ahead and taxi on out to the runway, and we're going to go ahead and take off once we are over there. All right, so we got over here to the runway. We're going to be taking off. It was a little bit challenging to get the air traffic control up and running, but we finally got our clearance for takeoff. Like I said, with the military bases, or at least, you know, with this one, it's just doesn't seem like it's integrated super well. But in any case, we're over here, ready to go. Go ahead and turn the engines up, make sure our brake is off, make sure we're lined up the right way. So the biggest challenge with taking off in the B-2 is it's not a very long aircraft, and so managing the angle of attack is very difficult to try to not stall, particularly when you're, you know, taking off or landing or doing anything where you're changing your, you know, angle a lot. So you'll see here, we start pulling back on the stick, we start climbing, get from V1, which should happen just here in a second. Okay, so you can see, now see how the gauge right there on the bottom left, you can see how it's like it's creeping up into the red. So you pretty much have to just accept the fact in the B-2 you're gonna have a very long ascent when you're taking off, because you can't just crank it all the way back and, you know, try to ascend more quickly, because you'll stall. That happened to me when I was doing a test run of this. So you just kind of have to deal with the fact that it's going to take forever to get up to cruise. Not forever, but you know what I mean. It's just not a very long aircraft, and so it's hard to, just from eyeballing it, it's kind of hard to tell if you're taking off at too steep of an angle. So you have to keep your eye on the gauge. But in any case, you can see our compass is showing our route there, so we're just going to go ahead and start making our way over, so we're lined up with where we need to go. I just have my eyes on that angle of attack right now, because I don't want to stall, because that's happened to me a few times with this. You just have to You know, at a vertical speed there on the bottom right, you can see it's like it's not bad. It's just kind of an optical illusion given how like short the aircraft is, how short the B-2 is, the airframe. It's not long, so it's like you can't really. It's just really hard to tell what angle you're at. You can see our weapons there. So if you go ahead and use the computer, you can open up the bomb bay doors. You can see we have our bunker busters loaded up. We'll go ahead and close those. Get over there, hit close. You can see the doors are closed up, and so we are ready to go. Still watching that angle of attack as now we're in the orange. I'll set the I'll go ahead and set the autopilot in a moment here, and then I'll just speed. I mean, nobody wants to watch like a 20-hour flight to where we have to go, because that would be a very long video. So I'm just going to go ahead and speed up that part of the recording, so you can just kind of skip ahead if you want. If you want to watch a few minutes, you can do that. All right, so we're screeching in over the skies of Iran. We finally arrived. That took good. I mean, I didn't sit here for the entire thing, but I think that took like 18 hours or 20 hours. I'll have to check when I go back and edit it. But yeah, we're here up above the skies of Iran. I'll try to open up the map here, which does not show you a whole lot because it's the middle of the Iranian desert. So there is not a lot there, but what we're going to do is go ahead and switch on over to our cockpit and open up the bomb bay doors. Then we'll switch to the targeting pod to drop down bombs, as they say. So go ahead and open those, and we'll go ahead and take a look under here, and you can see we are ready to go because we are nearing. Yeah, there we go. So we're nearing the site. So we'll go ahead and switch on over to the targeting pod. We will simulate that, and hopefully that works. We'll see how that goes, but not a lot happening out in this desert. So we'll go ahead and switch over, drop the bombs, and get the hell on out of here. All right, so we switched on over here. We've got our, let's see, I think this is a little overexposed. Okay, no, we just had those thermal or whatever that had. That was overexposed, but now we're on, is this white hot or black hot? I can't tell. Does it say it on here? I don't know, but it works. It's our thermal cam. So we'll go ahead and put our laser designator on. You can see that kind of bouncing off the ground. We have to go ahead and find the nuclear site here, which is going to have, smoke coming out of the exhaust stack, which is where we're going to drop the bombs. I mean, they really knocked off Star Wars, the U.S. did. It's just the same plot. But, art imitates life in this case. We're going to go ahead and try to find it on the ground here. We should figure out where the exhaust is coming out of, which should have a big heat signature, and that'll let us know where we're going to be dropping the bombs. So we'll see. Just keep looking around. There it is. All right, there we go. All right, so we need to go ahead and lock on here. I've never totally understood or been able to figure out how the heck you lock onto stuff. Like, you have to hit T, you have to click, you have to do a bunch of different things, and then eventually you'll just get like you get that initial square. That's just where the laser's locked onto. Okay, yeah, and then you need that diamond that appears over the box, and then that's how you know you locked on. So see if we can get that. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, there we go. All right, now drop the bomb. Okay, so hopefully now it's like faded out. I don't know why it fades out, but you need the box and the diamond to lock on. And I think I saw the bomb just flash. Oh no! All right, hold on a second. Let's go ahead and get recalibrated. This thing's pretty finicky. It's not the best, not the easiest to use. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're gonna guide these bombs onto the target. All right, there we go. Get the initial lock. We got the square. So we have to get the diamond over the square. We already really. There we go. It worked. Okay, so it took it a second. So I think that initial drop worked. And now we've got them all raining down there. All right, so we've got the smoke from multiple drops. I mean, it hit the target. It's kind of hard to tell at this altitude, but we went right through there, and the smoke stopped coming out of the other exhaust, which means we must have just totally destroyed. Now it stopped coming out of that one too, so we must have just totally destroyed the thing. Well, there you go. X marks the spot. So we went right into the side of the mountain there. I don't know what that heat signature is. Can't really tell. Let's go ahead and drop some more. Try to destroy whatever's under there too. I forget how many they dropped in the actual mission in real life. I think there was like a bunch of them, right? Like, it wasn't just, they had to like blow their way down to the target. I don't even know if it actually ended up working, or I guess it damaged it, or I don't know if they ever figured it out, or at least said. Okay, so we just dropped some follow-on bombs there. Totally obliterated that smokestack, because there were two of them when we rolled up over the target, and then we blew out one of them, and now we just hit the second one again. So I think you can just see just a massive amount of smoke there. You can even see it when you zoom all the way out. So it's a lot of ordnance. So I think we accomplished the mission here, or at least our part of the mission. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and refuel and get the heck on out of here and try to get back and land back at Whiteman. All right, so we now have the hardest part of the mission. It's not even close. Refueling this thing is a pain in the ass. I tried it when I was doing the test run of this. It's like damn near impossible to get this thing to line up perfectly, but hopefully it works this time. So we have the B-2, we have the KC-135 retanker. We're currently flying over the Gulf of Oman. If you were wondering where all of the water came from, that's where we are. So we came out over Iran. We're actually no, we're in the Persian Gulf. But the Gulf of Oman is if you go off to the left there around. Is it the Horn of Africa? I believe. I'm starting to test the limits of my geographical knowledge. But anyways, we're going to refuel over the water. That's our route. We're then going to bank west and fly all the way back. But first, we have to refuel this pig. This thing sucks. I'm not going to lie. Like, this refueling this thing, I don't know if it's just this or if it's just refueling anything. in Microsoft Flight Simulator is this difficult. I think it might be extra difficult with the B-2 just because it's not the most nimble aircraft. The problem here, it's not so much getting lined up, it's that once you are lined up with the tanker, you tend to overshoot. It just because it's like you're gonna see how we're gonna speed up here. So currently we're going. I think we have the tanker set to 154 knots, which I'm not even sure if that's a realistic airspeed, but that's what it gets set to in the air show assistant tool. But the problem is they fly way out ahead of you, and then you have to fly up to them. They're going a consistent speed, but in order to close the gap, you have to speed up. The problem is once you've closed the gap, as we're doing now, you can see the distance there. It's saying that we're about 1.3 kilometers behind them. I'm turning down my engines because I can see we're closing the gap pretty rapidly. We had to speed up to do that, but now you can't really slow down to avoid overshooting the tanker. You can see this blue thing pops up on the screen to show us where we need to go. It's kind of guiding us in. But I've just found it to be like all but impossible here. So you basically just kind of have to do your best. Hopefully this time we have just some amount of luck. So we're going to turn left here. I don't know why it wants you to come in from the left. It always sort of does that behind the tanker. But it's freaking appalling. This thing sucks. Like I get it. It's cool. It's like detail oriented. Everything. It's real world. But actually getting this thing to not overshoot the tanker, at least with the B-2. I haven't tried it extensively on other aircraft. I imagine with a fighter jet, it's more, the definition of nimble. It's probably easier. But you can see I'm going really carefully. I'm just easing my way up to it. We're cranking the speed up just a little bit to close this distance. But the problem is once you close the distance and you basically have to close the distance at the same exact time you line up with the tanker, and then you can't slow down you have to stop because you have to basically decelerate. This is the best I think I've done. All right, so we're gonna have to go ahead and switch on over to the interior here to get a better view of this thing, and just hopefully this works. There we go. Just lift it up just a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we're in here. That thing's supposed to connect. Where's our fuel gauge? Where's the fuel gauge? We need to make sure the fuel is... Okay, what happened? What the heck happened? Okay, I see the fuel gauge in the UI. It looks like it filled us up. Okay, because now we're like almost totally full. Whereas before we were like half full. I'm not, I don't know what happened. I don't really care. We're not gonna ask questions. We got the fuel, let's get the hell out of here. It doesn't matter how it got in there. Like, I guess somehow I don't know if it glitched. I'm not gonna rule that out. It's an extremely glitchy feature. But it looks like we have the fuel, so we're going to go ahead and bank west. And we're going to go ahead and set because I think we had it set to land in Dubai. We're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and set the GPS to take us home. And we are going to get back to Whiteman and land and call it a day. It's been a long day, or a couple days. All right, here we go. All right, so now we're back. I didn't bother putting in like the sped up footage of the entire flight back because like that would just kind of border on the tedious at that point. It would be like I don't even know how long this video is going to be when it's edited. It would be a super long video, so I felt like we didn't need to include everything again, just in reverse and duplicate work. But anyways, we're coming in here. We're about 9.7 miles away from Whiteman. We're lined up. We got our wheels out. When I was doing the test run with this, I did have a pretty serious problem getting the wheels to come out. I used the button in my yoke. It would not make them come out. I tried going into the cockpit and like actually pressing the gear shift and they wouldn't come out. There's an override button, which I thought maybe that's the problem. I hit that didn't work. I think it has something to do with the AI and the what do you call it, the like the autopilot, like the autopilot AI part of Microsoft Flight Simulator. I don't think it interacts perfectly with the B2 because when it comes in for a landing, which is when I return to do it manually, it would do that on its own. I don't know if the AI takes control of it and then it can't release it or what happens, but so if you do this, that you might get that glitch too. But anyways, we've got it working this time. We're just doing this manually. I'm not doing we're not doing the autopilot. I mean, it's simple enough, right? It's not like this is you got to do something yourself in this thing, right? So you might as well just land manually. It's not like it's that hard of a landing here at all, or we have like any kind of weather, or we need to use instruments, like the sun's still up. It's still pretty visible. We have lights on the runway. Anyway, so we're just gonna, you know, kind of come in here nice and easy. I am a little bit worried about the speed that we're coming in here at. It is a little bit, again, it's kind of like when we were taking off and I was talking about the angle of attack problem. Because it's such a short aircraft, you know, you can't really tell your angle of attack very well if it's too steep, if you're at risk of stalling. It's the same thing with the speed. It's hard to kind of tell what your land speed is with this thing just from eyeballing it. You have to use your instruments. That's kind of what you have to do. Because it looks like we're going way too fast, but it says we're actually, if anything, maybe going too slow. It's a little bit hard to tell, but it looks like we're lined up pretty well. And yeah, we're just going to lower this thing just a little bit. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this looks pretty simple enough, unless some disaster happens when we're landing the thing, which I hope isn't the case. Okay, and lower the throttle just a bit. Yeah, I mean, we look lined up pretty darn perfectly here. I'm just a little bit worried about the altitude. We're going to go and try to lower this thing a little bit. It is a very lumbering aircraft. Like, it's not like if you turn the throttle down to slow down and all of a sudden you realize you're too slow and you turn it back up, it's going to take it some time to recover. Like, it's not a very nimble aircraft, but it's not supposed to be. All right, so yeah, I'm just going to pick it up just a little bit here. This is a little bit tough. All right, lower it down. Yeah, you can see right here, like we're having a little bit, I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it to lift back up, but it looks like we're lined up perfectly. We just have to, yeah, all right, pull it up, pull up. Yep. No, pull up. Oh shoot. Uh-oh. Come on, lift up. There we go. Okay, that was a close call. All right, there we go. Dropping it down. Might have knocked out one of those lights. All right, there we go. Touchdown. Looking good. All right. Nope. Get back straight. We're dropping frames for some reason. I don't know why. Like, the whole thing was perfect, and this is not like a very detail-oriented airport. I don't know why we dropped frames here. And it happened with the map, too. But then I go to, like, JFK, or I go to, I don't know, you know, Washington National or LAX, and it's fine. I don't know why. Maybe it's, like, not configured well. I don't know. Anyways, we accomplished the mission. We did it. We're back. We landed. We're here. It worked. We survived. We did it. Now I have to figure out how to taxi. So we're going to turn these speed brakes down. That's one of the things with MFS. Like, in X-Plane, the brakes versus the speed brakes, it was all delineated very well in the controls. And you could, like, set your yoke to it. In Microsoft Flight Simulator, depending on the aircraft, it's a little bit tough to know what it's doing when you press a button. Now, I don't think that looks like a taxiway. That looks like it's way too narrow to be a taxiway. So we're not going to use that. Maybe that's like an access road. Not even sure. So we're not going to use that. We're going to go up to this next one, which looks like it's probably, yeah, that's way too narrow. That's definitely like an access road. It doesn't even, that actually looks like the photogrammetry kind of made a mistake, because I don't even know. It doesn't look like it's kind of connected very well with the runway, but if it's even supposed to be there. So go ahead and slow this thing down. We're going to have to actually hit our brakes to make this turn. Yeah, hit the brakes. Turn. I hope this isn't too wide of a turn. No, it looks like we actually nailed it. All right, pretty good. Turn the throttle back. Yeah, this thing's pretty cumbersome. It doesn't respond quickly to the controls. You have to kind of be very deliberate and plan things in advance. Well, anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope it was realistic enough. I mean, it's like it's like a 2-day mission. I mean, how realistic can it be? But no, I mean, it's pretty cool that there's a B2, you know, for Microsoft Flight Simulator that you can more or less, you know, simulate pretty accurately. I mean, there are some bugs. The AI, the GPS, the autopilot, it's not perfect. Like, there are a lot of bugs. I think, like, the takeoff, like, from the time you take off to when you get to cruising altitude, and then the whole landing oh shoot, yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. You gotta get it back over there. All right, there we go. That whole process is very buggy. Like, once you get to cruising altitude and you get to the target, it can pretty much do that, but like everything else you basically have to do on your own, because it's a little bit buggy. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Cool to be able to, you know, imitate the real world thing, and but, you know, hope you guys enjoyed it, and that'll do it. All right, thanks for watching.